Do you want to know which biotech stocks have been the best of the week on the Nasdaq? Why they've risen and learn from them from future opportunities? Hop in. We are starting the taxi. Today, we are starting from Valencia, a modern, entrepreneurial, historic city with good food and good weather, and even better people. Welcome to Taxi Biotech, a show to learn about news and updates from the world of biotechnology and understand the impact on the stock market. The stock data I share here reflects the status of companies or their clinical trials and does not constitute any investment advice. This is purely for entertainment. If you want me to visit your city, leave in the comments. Let's go. Let's see what happened on Finbit, my favorite platform. The top 3 performers were Monte Rosa with 73%, ENSC Bioscience with 87%, and Glycomimetics with 124%. In previous videos, we saw how a limited stock float or large short positions can affect the week's top stocks. However, this week the increases weren't due to a short skew since the short interest is low and the float is quite good. So, starting from the lowest, we have Monte Rosa Therapeutics with the ticker GLU. It saw a 100% increase on the first day with peaks of 150%, then dropped 12% in the following days. Its market cap is 500 million. One of the best things for any biotech stock is a partnership with a major pharma company. According to its press release, Monte Rosa has partnered with Novartis to develop and commercialize one of its molecular degraders. Wait, what is a molecular degrader? Monte Rosa has developed molecules that target specific proteins for ubiquitination and therefore destruction. This is useful for eliminating inflammatory, neurotoxic, or proliferative molecules, and their pipeline aims to treat various diseases. Back to the deal. Novartis will inject 150 millions into this 500 million company to accelerate the commercialization of MRT 6160 and launch phase 2 trials for autoimmune and neurological diseases like sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, intestinal inflammations, and dermatological issues. Monte Rosa will complete phase 1, after which Novartis will take over. Monte Rosa will co-found part of phase 3, and Monte Rosa might receive up to 2.1 billion with B as milestones are completed, with payments beginning from phase 2 and retain some commercialization rights in the US. As always, let's check for the financials. Monte Rosa has 277 million in cash and semi-annual expense of 62 millions, giving them enough funds to complete studies without diluting investors through capital increases. They'll get substantial funding from Novartis, which is a big positive. In my personal opinion, this is an amazing agreement. A financially healthy company, one that doesn't need to sell any molecule to survive, partnering with a major pharma to speed up one of its molecules in its diversified pipeline, validating its technology. They get a solid initial payment and significant future payouts to accelerate and validate other molecule degraders. Novartis' confidence is a strong endorsement. Given that, capital raise shouldn't be necessary. This deal could yield up to 2 billion with a diversified pipeline. My personal conclusion, without investing in my advice, is that in the long term, Monte Rosa's current 500 million valuation could be small and will trade higher. Of course, all this positive prospect depends on the safety of phase 1 and the effectiveness of Novartis' phase 2 trial. Switching companies, let's go to ENSC Bioscience. Pay attention, this is what we look for on this channel. example like this. ENSC has a tiny market cap of 9 million and is a trading volume of 140 million. Their pipeline includes drugs with novel technology that solve two issues. One, doing opioid drugs that activate only in the gastrointestinal tract, preventing misuse as recreational drugs. And two, the capacity to prevent overdose when high doses. This company has mentioned in my last week best biotech companies on Nasdaq in my last video, but I hadn't found any relevant news. This week I kept researching. In their press releases, still nothing, but on Twitter, an account I recommend as much as my own warns us of something important. The 13G institutional info shows that on October 29th, a 13G filing was made indicating that an investment group acquired approximately 8% of the shares, signed by Joseph Elderman. Who is Joseph Elderman? Is a manager of a biotech stock focused in investment fund. Remember from past videos that Nasdaq list companies must have a minimum of $1 share price to remain listed. So, for a company with a 60-cent stock price struggling to stay listed, getting the confidence of a major biotech-focused fund seems reason enough for investors to gain confidence. Because of this, they had a sharp price increase. Since the 13G news, the price has surged over 60%. From now on, keep an eye on these feelings to spot similar opportunities. And lastly, my favorite company of the week for its plus tweets, Glycomimetics. It surged 184% in one day and then dropped by 20% in the following days. What caused this spike? A press release stating that their phase 2 had failed to meet the primary endpoints. How is it possible? Because half an hour later, another statement announced their acquisition by Crescent Biopharma. Whereas before Monte Rosa, we have a solid company that didn't need to sell anything to proceed, now we have the opposite, a failed phase 2 that could have ended with Glycomimetics, finally saved by a promising biotech acquisition. The deal injects 200 million into Glycomimetics in the second half of 2025, giving Glycomimetics shareholders only a 3.1% stake in the new company. Every links in the comment before. From what I gather in the press release, the focus will shift to Crescent molecules. This deal is essentially a vehicle for Crescent to enter in the Nasdaq. I'm not sure if they'll keep anything from the original pipeline, which I'll show you, but it's clear they are focused on Crescent molecules, PD-1 and VEGF bispecific antibodies for cancer. Interestingly, Crescent antibody development closely resembles one created by a Chinese company, which phase 3 trials showed to be superior to Keytruda in China, although they would need new trials elsewhere to get approval. Crescent claims to have made the same antibody, even admitting small adjustment would make it less effective than the Chinese version, so they kept it identical. They said in one communication this information, so it's a source from them. Legally, such a direct imitation raised many questions, at least for me, as a bioresearcher and investor. Generally, the reverse scenario would be unproblematic, but a US company replicating a Chinese molecule in my personal opinion, I can imagine that raise potential legal issues. Additionally, beyond BioNTech is developing a bispecific therapy targeting PD-1 VEGF. So, to recap, we have 3 companies developing bispecific antibodies against PD-1 and VEGF. A Chinese company called Summit leads with phase 3 trials in China, and they promise to replicate the trials globally. BioNTech expects results in early 2026 and Crescent in the later half of 2026. Honestly, although the stock might do well for this company, like Glycomimetics, the competition and intellectual property issues make it risky for me. But that's my personal opinion. Do your own research and leave your thoughts in the comments. So let's sum up the week's lessons. Number 1 to number 5 are the previous lessons, and of course, deals with major pharma companies or acquisitions are unpredictable. So this week, I would only add that it's worth keeping an eye on Form 13G for future cases to detect investment funds entering companies. And finally, I wanted to end with a fun note with memes, but that's not possible today. This right end in the devastated area of Valencia. Recently, we've been seeing heartbreaking images. I personally sent there what I could, and my spirit are low. I understand what 500,000 people are going through, because I faced a similar situation last year. I only have 9 subscribers, so this won't go far, but my heart is with the people of Valencia right now.